covering recruiting and the transfer portal for the Razorbacks. This is Inside Arkansas Recruiting with Dudley Dawson.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Recruiting and Transfer Portal. We are going live this morning, which means that not only does Arkansas have one, but two transfer portal pops that happen pretty close here to the same time. John Neighbors alongside Andrew Ellis and Dudley Dawson. And guys, we'll start, and Andrew, we'll start with you with the new defensive back. Well, with the Maryland side of things, because you have a transfer from that one. This one wasn't necessarily a reported one. It was just one that the Razorbacks just tweeted out. They're like, hey, this guy signed. So we'll talk about him first, getting to the other tight end. But this is a guy that I know a lot of people have been discussing, been high on, and continuing to try to build that secondary. And you get a guy with Big Ten experience here from Maryland.
Yeah, over 500 snaps across 2 seasons at Maryland. So a guy that has picked up some valuable experience. A lot of these dudes that they bring out of the portal, it's like, there's a hypothetical production potential. You kind of hope, can they live up to this? This guy's at least been out there, been playing Power 4 football, got a lot of experience, made some plays, had 3 interceptions last year at Maryland, so could potentially be that second starter. He spent almost all of his time at outside corner. You added the Shelton Lewis nickel from Clemson yesterday, so things are starting to come together in this secondary. They've got potentially a legitimate starting corner duo and a nickel now. We'll see what they do at the safety position, but feel like a big addition there at corner, and I'm sure we'll get to the tight end in just a second.
Yeah, and I don't know how it played itself out, but as of yesterday, his choices were Ohio State, Georgia Tech, and Arkansas. 2 of those teams had really good years. One did not. So for them to pick him up when you're going against those 2, is a sweet get. Now, how much he'll come in, how much he'll play, and all that is still left to be decided. But I think this is another case where, yes, you're sorry you didn't get Curious Kern. Yes, you're sorry you didn't get the East Carolina quarterback, but you probably had enough money to go out and get a better class of players.
Yeah, because it's about matter of building the position of needs that you have, which you said, I need everything, which is true. But it's like the secondary is, as we've all talked about, every time they've added somebody, it's like, okay, is this finally going to be the time that maybe it does work out, where it's not just, one lockdown corner and then a bunch of guys. Like you need a collective group here. You need the safeties, and then the defense, and then the cornerbacks, and then the nickel backs. And then you need guys that can be a great collective group that's out there playing. That's going to be something to where it's like, I feel pretty good about what they've built in the secondary. I still believe that they're going to add some more pieces there. Is this, looking at it on papers, is like, oh man, this might be one of the best secondaries in the SEC. I have no idea. That'd be really cool if it was. But again, they're adding the important pieces that they need. And this is just another guy to where, as you said, Dudley, if he had offers and interest from Ohio State and Georgia Tech, and that's one of those deals. Yeah, and visited there. Yeah, exactly. And visited there. I'm like, yeah, that might be that's good enough for me. At least if they're at least interested, that means that Arkansas should be interested too. And if he chose Arkansas, then they did something right.
That's one of 2 Maryland cornerbacks that had visited Arkansas. Braden Lee was here yesterday. He's a redshirt freshman, had 18 tackles. We'll see what he plans to do. I sure wish I had their sheet in front of me so I could tell you how many numbers they were going to get here and how many numbers are going to get there. All I know, the one thing is it's going to be in the 30+ when they're done. And this now, with the 2 this morning and the 1 that we had in Inside Recruiting After Dark, they're up to 19 now.
Yeah, if we are to assume that Lakhi Roland is a potential starter at corner, which all indications are that he is that kind of guy, you got potential. I mean, like we were talking about 3 days ago, we were like, man, they've got like 15, 16 starters to get. All of a sudden, you get a couple on the defensive line, you get a big-time linebacker, you get 3 guys in the secondary. All of a sudden, that number's starting to dwindle just a bit, and so still a lot of work to do, but you're starting to knock off some of that to-do list. Another thing I like about Roland is he's from Cedar Grove, Georgia, as we know, the home of the fighting Jimmy Smiths, and so there's a lot of familiarity there. But Shelton Lewis, the nickel they got yesterday, also from Georgia, not Cedar Grove, but that's another place that, like you mentioned, John, this coaching staff has a lot of ties there. So it seems like this has to be someone they had some type of prior relationship with. And so all these guys, I know it kind of feels like mercenaries where you're just bringing in all these transfers from every which way, all these different schools. Most of them aren't just out of the blue. Like, they have some type of connection with this coaching staff. There's a prior relationship there. Seems like those relationships are starting to pay off for this coaching staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to kind of put a wrap on it for him, if you're looking at some of the rankings with On Three and whatnot, he is the 101st cornerback in the transfer portal, and then he's 843rd overall. But still, he was a guy that's again people are really high on. And I don't know if this means anything, but it just is fascinating whenever it's like there's a lot of people with On Three and transfer portal and all that. They're not the ones that break the news. It's literally the Razorbacks that break it that he's going to be joining. I just think that part is fascinating. Not that it means anything, but just makes me wonder was he like as tight-lipped on it, or is it one of those things that they just didn't get wind of it and he did it kind of in the midnight hour. I don't know. That just was fascinating.
Well, you mentioned the rating there. Another thing I thought that was very interesting. On Three has him as like a, like you said, an 8, kind of in the 800 range of prospect overall. 24/7 Sports has him in the like 350 range. And he's like I think he's like number 38 cornerback or whatever. Humongous discrepancy between the two. You can, as a Hawk fan, you get to choose which one you want to believe. It doesn't really matter. But I thought that was a little bit interesting as well.
I think you're on mute for some reason. I don't know why you just went on mute for some reason. Yeah.
Well, as before the going into these two that they just got, they were number 8, on 3 and number 14 in 247. So that tells you. I mean, they've got the same amount of commitments on both sides ranked. So, there's your difference of opinion among those who do this for a living.
Yeah. Well, again, as we all know, the one that has the highest rating is the one we care about and is the right one. So that's the only thing that matters. But as mentioned, though, that not only Arkansas was able to get Lakhi Roland as a defensive back, just as immediately as about we were going to go live, Arkansas added another player from the transfer portal, and hey, another Memphis Tiger. So continuing to add to the Arkansas Tigers here, it seems like. But former Memphis tight end Matt Adcock. I don't know if he's related to Cody Adcock or anything like that, but maybe so. But either way, he is officially committed to Arkansas. He was a freshman last year, or at least his only one season last year with Memphis. He had 12 catches for 70 total yards and 3 touchdowns. You brought that up, Ellis. I was like, yeah. And sorry, he's a JUCO player, so he was not a freshman. He's a JUCO player. But he went from Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, had 19 appearances there. So he's going to be walking in, and also he's the number 51 tight end overall in the transfer portal ranking. So, Andrew, you needed to add. You got Jaden Platt yesterday, as we talked about. You retained him, so now you add another guy in this piece with bringing over another Memphis Tiger, this time a tight end.
Seems like Mike Vrabel. You remember when Mike Vrabel was with the Patriots and he was playing linebacker, but then they would play him at tight end, and like every time he would get in, he'd catch a touchdown. I love the 3 touchdowns on 12 catches. That's Isaac Tesla type stuff, like Dudley was saying before we went live. But no, I love this. This is another guy. I'm looking at his PFF. He played over 300 snaps for Memphis last year. So a ton of experience, and then you're coming from the JUCO ranks where you're able to get a ton of experience. This is a guy that's played a lot of football. Probably more of the blocking type. If you just look at it, if you look at a picture of this guy, you're like, yeah, he's a blocking tight end, I'm going to guess. But of course, this guy's got some familiarity with the staff. They know what his skill set is. They know how they can use it. So I'm perfectly fine to trust them there. And, it's funny. I remember a few years ago when Dominic Johnson had to go play tight end because Arkansas had such poor depth at that position, which is crazy because you need like 4. You need like 4 tight ends. So it's like if you're having a depth issue at tight end, like I don't know how that happens. It doesn't really take much in that room. You get your big guy back in Jaden Platt, who's really going to be a legitimate starter for you, a guy that can be a huge part of your offense. Now you get another guy that's got a lot of familiarity. That's 2 guys right there that are going to play a lot for Arkansas. You've still, of course, got your Maddox Lassiter, still got Gavin Garrett sent around. I'm sure there's another name or 2 that I'm forgetting, but it's like you're kind of already set there.
Nathan Clagg is a young man from Mountain Home that was at UAB last year. He's scheduled to visit here. Today's Thursday, right? Scheduled to visit here Saturday. And is he's got a couple other visits, but I would imagine that they ink him as well. So that may be your solid tight end room there now.
Yeah, and it's it's the tight end position where I think for Arkansas, you've seen obviously a lot of great tight ends over the past 10, 15, 20 years come through here. And then there was that stretch I remember in the first few years of Sam Pittman. I know you guys remember, it's like they just didn't have tight ends. It's like Blake Kern, and then they tried to move Trey Knox over there. And it was fine. It was whatever. But everyone was kept saying, it's like, dude, you need, like, where's the tight ends at? You need some tight ends there. And then this past year, and then, of course, who could forget with the Luke Has and all those guys that everyone was just barking about, why are we not using these highly talented tight ends? and then a lot of them leave, and then you have this past year with, and I think Rohan Jones may have been one of those guys that's just unfortunate that we only got 1 year out of him and didn't get to see him much of on a 2-10 team. But now it's like, okay, so like you're talking about blocking tight ends, and is that kind of going to be the offensive strategy that they're going to utilize with those tight ends more so than the receiving part? That's fine if they do.
I love LeGarrette, but Adcock had more catches last year.
Well, see, there you go. Yeah, I mean, it's like there's at least some elements there too, to where you got some dynamic guys. But I think that's also going to be fascinating because every position that you could break down, be like, okay, so how's this player going to be used, or what kind of position are they going to be in that? But with tight end, it's always about, hey, are you, like you said, blocking or catching, or very hard to do both. So I'm going to be fascinated to see how this new coaching staff and this new offensive coordinator and everybody utilizes tight ends more so in passing game, more so in help side, or are they just going to be just big, able bodies that's able to do everything?
Sure. And I also think, I guess we should also address, I guess it was like 11:30 last night. Yeah. That is Adam Hawk, the guy from Oregon State who apparently signed with Arkansas. I think that's a very welcome addition because Arkansas needed something at tackle there. Not to say that I'm underwhelmed by that addition, but I still feel like you still need two legitimate starters at the tackle position because he started a couple games there at Oregon State once their season kind of went awry. But I don't know if that's the guy that's going to come right in and start for you at left tackle. I still feel like Arkansas needs a lot of help there at the tackle positions. We'll see what they end up doing there, but interesting that you're getting some tight ends now to kind of fill in that offensive picture. I'm sure they're going to go out and get at least one more receiver because I would love to see them get like a legitimate potential wide receiver one type of guy. But I think the defense has been the priority here the last few days, and it needed to be because you had just a lot more to fill, a lot more to figure out. Now on offense, it's really only maybe 3 or 4 spots total, and you can be a little bit more selective with, hey, let's go find us a big fish here. Let's go find us a real difference maker. It's not like with the defense where you needed to get 5 defensive linemen and 5 secondary guys. You don't have time to really evaluate who's good and who's not. You just need bodies. Offensively, they do still need a couple bodies, but they can be a little bit more selective because of the work they've already done. And the roster's a little bit more in place on the offensive side, outside of those 2 tackles.
You're still waiting word from Malcolm Simmons, the wide receiver from Auburn. He's visiting. He's gone to Kentucky. Now he's visiting Texas A&M. I expect to hear something on him pretty good. Tony Diaz is one that I'm very intrigued by. UT Rio Grande, freshman, a redshirt freshman All-American. Didn't know they had a differentiation for that, but caught 68 passes for 875 yards and 11 TDs. That dude's finding the end zone. That's what you want. So you're waiting to hear on those 2. And then obviously there was a ton of people here the past few days. I'm sure we're going to have a busy day.
Well, if Ryan Silverfield, who has not tweeted very much here during the offseason, is any indication, when he just tweets out this morning a big WPS and exclamation point, it's like, yeah, some may say busy, some may say good, but as you all know, I say it's insane. It's going to be an insane day today. So we'll be on top of it here with Inside Arkansas. So be sure to subscribe to us each and every time. We'll have Inside Arkansas Live going live at noon. So any portal pops, like it was yesterday, we'll be talking about it there as well as with Inside Arkansas Recruiting with Dudley Dawson. So we're going to be on top of it each and every time. And I guess we'll just wait and see. We may see it Inside Arkansas Live. We may see a little bit before, but either way, we're going to have it right here. So that'll do it for us today. For Dudley Dawson, Andrew Ellis, I'm John Neighbors. And enjoy the rest of your day, folks. We'll see you when we see you the next time right here on Inside Arkansas.